Well, one, DRAM is the most important bottleneck. There's a whole segment of people on X who are very focused on bottlenecks. I call them the bottleneck bros. They'll do some work with Claude, find some esoteric Japanese company. The bottleneck that matters is DRAM. And DRAM and HBM DRAM, this is the most important bottleneck simply because memory capacity and bandwidth are foundational to the performance of every AI model. So this is the most important bottleneck. Elon is focusing the terafab on memory because he sees it as the most important bottleneck. Not lasers, not capacitors, not power supply semiconductors, not NAND flash, not HDDs, DRAM. And I think this bottleneck is going to be with us for a while. And it is kind of astonishing. So a few thoughts. Like, what was important about the quarter? They announced that they have these SCAs, these supply chain agreements, that have a floor and a ceiling for prices with increasingly large group of large customers. And this covers essentially 50% of their revenue, I think, with just 4 customers. And the floor pricing in these new contracts is ahead of prior cycle peaks from a gross margin perspective. And so this is really, I think, maybe end up being very transformational for the industry. Most other parts of the semiconductor supply chain have re-rated. Lam Research, the wafer fab equipment suppliers, they all trade at huge premiums to DRAM relative to prior cycles, and their business models have improved. But, so has the industry structure and business models of DRAM, because HBM DRAM is increasingly a customized chip. But as far as other people being able to do this, look, CXMT is going public in China. They may be the cure for Apple's ills. They will flood the market with, to some degree, cheap consumer grade DRAM. But for the DRAM you need in these AI servers, there are 3 companies that can make it. It's really hard to do. This is as close to magic as science can get. And, I think terafab, is going to be an important part of this solution. But, these stocks still are cross-sectionally cheap relative to the rest of AI. Something I've been thinking about, DRAM is probably going to be 30 to 40% of all hyperscaler CapEx next year. Hundreds of billions of dollars that are spent, going straight to DRAM. It's wild. But this may actually be very valuable for society, because it is probably, going to, inflate the costs of building a gigawatt data center to the point where, even for the hyperscalers, economics matter. We're caught in this prisoner's dilemma. And this may give us as a society time to adapt, what our friend Brad Gershner calls the social contract. So the high iPhone prices, one, CXMT is coming for consumer grade DRAM. But 2, this may be good for AI. It may be good for us as a society.
And making it is just really pure silicon, right? Like making memory is just this incredibly refined silicon. And that might be the pre-bottleneck.
Yeah, making the HBM DRAM, making what NVIDIA calls SOCAM, making LPDDR. These are the types of DRAM that are really hard to make, not consumer grade DRAM. And they are increasingly what you need in these AI data centers.
Yeah. Semiconductor grade. Yeah.
Yeah. So my understanding of HBM stands for high bandwidth memory. Again, this is part of the GPUs that go in the data center to run AI, is that you take the DRAM wafer or die and you actually stack them. And so I think HBM3 is like 8, it's stacked 8 dies high, but now they're increasing to 12 and even 16. And to basically stack them and then package them all together, that's an advanced technology in and of itself. So you're seeing now, like Gavin's saying, there's only 3 companies that can do it. But also, this is creating significant price pressure for all the consumer electronics businesses. Apple had huge news today where they announced massive price increases. And again, it's because DRAM now is less available because it's just being hoovered up by all the data centers. And if you're a data center and you need to buy GPUs, again, those chips, they're using immense amounts of DRAM because, again, one HBM chip is using multiple, like stacks of DRAM. So it's just getting slurped up, and then it takes a couple of years to ramp up new capacity. So these companies are going to do that, but that could take a while. We saw that in New York. Remember, that was that Micron plant that had just broken ground and then got shut down the same day because of some crazy environmental issue. So it's not easy to ramp this stuff in the U.S., although Micron is the one provider that's in the U.S. SK Hynix in South Korea. Samsung's in South Korea too. But anyway, we're going to see, again, more of this AI inflation, they're calling it. It's just another reason I hate AI is it is in this narrow area of consumer electronics where there's competition for DRAM. It is leading to price inflation now.